Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel, and welcome if you're new. So today we're going to go over the top 5 fastest killing assault rifles in Cold War. So we're mainly basing this off of TTK, which I do have the data for, and we will go over that at the end of the video. But first we're going to start off with the class setups, and this is definitely something that is very important to everybody. You just want to know which gun is going to kill my opponent the fastest. So that's what we're going to go over today. So if you guys do enjoy the content, a like is definitely appreciated. If we could hit 300 likes within 24 hours of this video being posted, I would absolutely appreciate it. And make sure to subscribe if you're new around here to make your way back to the channel. And let's get on with the video. We are going to start off with the AK47. So the AK47 is actually tied for the fastest TTK in the assault rifle category with the Fara 83, and we're going to get into that in a little bit. And of course, I'm going to show you guys the TTK graph just so you guys can get a visual of exactly where these assault rifles rank and how I'm coming up with these rankings. With the AK-47, the first attachment we're going to use is the suppressor. So this is what makes the AK-47 great. You can run a suppressor on it and it's not really going to affect your damage range at all, especially with the attachments that we're going to use to mitigate the negatives. Now the suppressor gives us multiple things. It allows us to stay as stealthy as possible. We're not going to show up on the enemy minimap when we're firing our weapon. And secondly, it's also going to just help you stay alive a lot longer. Obviously, if our opponents don't see us pinging on their minimap, they're not going to be able to locate where we are. So this is why the suppressor is especially helpful. Now, to mitigate the negatives on the suppressor, we're going to use the VDV reinforced. It gives us 100% effective damage range as well as 40% bullet velocity. Now, our effective damage range gets extended out to 71 meters. So what this means is that our TTK, which is time to kill of 300 milliseconds, gets extended all the way out to 71 meters. This is absolutely insane, and why the AK-47 is definitely one of the best guns in the game to use. Now the bullet velocity, per my bullet velocity testing, VDV reinforced is not really top of the line as far as hit detection goes, but when you take a look at the other attachments that do offer better bullet velocity, such as the Liberator or the 𝗧𝗠𝗏 RPK, their pros are not worth using because, first of all, look at that effective damage range. You don't get an extension in your damage range. You're only limited to within 33 meters, and that means that the TTK only goes out to 33 meters. So obviously we want a little bit more flexibility, especially with gunfights on longer range maps. You don't want to be limited to that, because once we step out of that 33 meter range, your TTK is actually going to go up, and we're going to take a look at that later on so you can see what I mean. Now for the 𝗧𝗠𝗏 RPK barrel, you get an effective damage range of only 52 meters, especially when it reduces your vertical and your horizontal recoil control. You know, what's the point of using a weapon if it just ruins your accuracy and you're not even able to hit a shot? However, with the VDV reinforced, this definitely does not affect your recoil. It gives you the best effective damage range while mitigating the negative that we get for the bullet velocity. All right, so for the underbarrel, we're running with the 𝗧𝗠𝗏 Speed Grip. The 𝗧𝗠𝗏 Speed Grip is perfect. It's a 2-in-1. It helps increase our sprinting move speed as well as our horizontal recoil control at the same time. Now, the 𝗧𝗠𝗏's grip is definitely a choice. You could go with this one if you want to, but it dramatically reduces your shooting move speed, as you can see here, by negative 26%. So if you don't know what that is, that's basically when you're shooting your weapon and you're moving at the same time. So that could definitely hurt you in a gunfight, especially close quarter combat situations versus SMGs. You're not going to be able to track your opponent as easy. So for the handle, we're going with the serpent wrap, again, just to follow the theme of avoiding attachments that reduce our shooting move speed. So the serpent wrap gives us 25% aim down sight time at 225 milliseconds with minimal con to our sprint to fire time, versus the GRU elastic wrap, our sprint to fire time gets affected. Also, on top of that, our shooting move speed. So the difference between the aim down sight time of 225 and 210, you know, it's not really that big of a difference. You're not really going to notice this difference. It's maybe about half a frame at most. So serpent wrap is definitely the best bang for your buck. Stock is going to be the KGB skeletal stock to help increase our sprint to fire time as well as our aim walking movement speed. Now, if you're someone who hip fires often, then I definitely do recommend to go with the no stock, since it will reduce your hip fire accuracy just a little bit and not as much as the KGB skeletal stock. However, you're not going to get the aim walking movement speed pro to it, so just keep that in mind. And my secondary that I am running, I'm only going to go through this once because I'm basically using the same secondary now, which is going to be the AMP63. My attachments are the SOCOM Eliminator, barrels the Task Force, body is the Soft Target, magazine is the STANAG 25 round, and handle is the Serpent Wrap. So if you want to see a little bit more in-depth video and just seeing the data and the testing of how I actually came to conclusion to use these attachments, check out the video down below. AMP63 standalone video is there for your viewing. Next, we've got the Fara 83. This is also tied for the fastest killing assault rifle at 300 millisecond time to kill. It doesn't have as much damage range as the AK47 build that I just showed you, but it is still super effective. And again, we're going to take a look at the ranges and the TTK comparison later on in the video. So this is an 8 attachment class setup. I feel like the Fara is best when it has 8 attachments on it. So for the optic, I'm using a Microflex LED. Muzzle is going to be the 𝗧𝗠𝗔𝗠𝗘𝗦𝗧𝗠 compensator, and the barrel is going to be the Liberator barrel. This is the most important attachment for the Fara 83. Main reason why is because this is going to help our bullets hit our target infinitely faster. So again, check out my video on my barrel testing for the assault rifles. The Liberator barrel is going to give you the best and fastest hit detection possible, and it doesn't come with any, horrible cons that's going to affect us in gunfights, versus something like the 𝗧𝗠𝗥𝗕𝗢𝗠 RPK. It's going to reduce our recoil control and also reduce the amount of ammo we have in our reserve. All right, body is going to be the KGB target designator. Underbarrel is going to be the 𝗧𝗠𝗥𝗡𝗦𝗢𝗧 speed grip once again, and magazine is going to be the 40-round magazine. Main reason why I choose the 40-round magazine is because it doesn't affect our aim down sight time. Assault rifles, they naturally already have very low mobility, so if we were to add something like the VDV 50-round fast mag, for example, it reduces our ADS time by -25%. So obviously we do want to avoid this. So for the handle, we're going with the serpent wrap. Stock is going to be the KGB skeletal stock. Now again, I'm using the AMP63. Everything is still the same. Now for my 3 perk setup, I'm going with Flak Jacket, Scavenger, and Ninja. Or depending on the opponent, if they're calling in a lot of UAVs, I'm going to remove Ninja and I'm going to put on Ghost. So just keep that in mind moving forward so that I do not have to repeat myself. All right, so now at number 3, we have the Groza. So the Groza is one of the most underrated assault rifles out there. It definitely is a top 5 fastest killing assault rifle in the game. I believe the TTK is around 320 milliseconds, which is actually really good when you're comparing it to what else is available in the game for assault rifles. So with this one, again, I believe the Groza is best as an 8 attachment class setup. So for optic, we're going with Microflex LED. Muzzle is the 𝗧𝗠𝗥𝗡𝗦𝗧𝗠 compensator. Barrel is going to be the group composite. Now, I know this is strange. You're probably thinking, why can't we just go with the VDV reinforced? It gives us more bullet velocity, more effective damage range. Well, like I said, I tested out these barrels at the beginning of Season 3 Reloaded, and the group composite actually gave us a faster hit detection versus the VDV reinforced. This is a classic textbook example of why you shouldn't really trust the in-game stats, because once you go and test it out yourself, you will notice that some barrels perform better than others when the game is telling you otherwise. So you have to watch out for those things. Group composite is definitely the best barrel to use for your hit detection. All right, body is going to be the KGB target designator. Under barrel is the 𝗧𝗠𝗥𝗡𝗦𝗧𝗠 speed grip. Magazine is going to be the 40-round drum. Handle is going to be the serpent grip, and stock is going to be the KGB pad. And same rules apply, same exact secondary tactical lethal field upgrade, as well as our perk combination. All right, so moving on to the XM4. So the XM4, I ranked it at number 4 here. even though there is one more assault rifle that technically has a faster TTK, and we're gonna get into that a little bit. Okay, spoiler alert, it's the FFAR1. So the reason why is because the XM4 has a 332 millisecond time to kill, whereas the FFAR has a 330 millisecond time to kill. Now, the reason why I ranked the XM4 to go before the FFAR is because the XM4 is just a lot more flexible. It's got better mobility and a wide range of variables when it comes to attachments, versus the FFAR, you have to be limited to a certain amount of attachments to be able to use it, because the recoil control is ridiculously hard to control on the FFAR1. So there's a lot more flexibility with the XM4 in that regard. So for this class setup, I believe it is best as an 8 attachment class setup. Optic is again Microflex LED. Muzzle is the infantry compensator. Barrel is going to be the Ranger barrel. Once again, the most important attachment on the XM4. This is a game changer. This dramatically hits our targets a lot faster per for my testing for bullet velocity, Ranger barrel is the way to go. And I love the fact that it doesn't really reduce our recoil control like the Task Force barrel does, or it doesn't also reduce our sprinting move speed like the Reinforced does. Now for the body, we're using the soft target designator. Underbarrel is going to be the SFOD speed grip, and magazine is going to be the 40 round, handle is going to be the Serpent wrap, and stock is going to be the Raider pad. All right, same thing applies for my 3 perk setup as well as the same secondary. All right, and last but not least, we have the FFAR1, which has a TTK of 330 milliseconds. So for these attachments, it's best used as a nade attachment class setup. And like I was saying previously when I was talking about the XM4, there is a specific way that you have to use this gun, and it's all about the recoil control, or else if you don't cater to what this gun demands, you're gonna have a hard time controlling that recoil. All right, so for the optic, I'm using Microflex LED. Muzzle is gonna be the SOCOM Eliminator. This gives us the most vertical recoil control compared to the infantry compensator. And the barrel is gonna be the Ranger barrel. Once again, the most important attachment on the FFAR1 for a couple of reasons. Number one, based on my testing, the Ranger barrel gives us the fastest hit detection possible. And at the same time, the Task Force barrel, it reduces your recoil control. So if you're using the Task Force on the FFAR1, you're gonna have a really hard time shooting your target. Even if we were to use the Task Force barrel, it gives us 57 meters, but even at that range, it's gonna be really hard to shoot your target because it's just too far and the recoil control is way too high. So that's why the Ranger barrel, number one, gives us the best hit detection once again, and number two, it does not reduce our recoil. Body is going to be the soft target designator, and underbarrel is going to be the field agent grip. Once again, this helps control our recoil as much as we possibly can. And the magazine is going to be the Salvo 44 round fast mag. Now, this is one of the few exceptions that I will use an extended magazine that will reduce our ADS time, mainly because we're using the FFAR1. You're going to blow through your ammo really quickly with the FFAR1 because the fire rate is so high. You're going to run out of ammo quickly, and you are going to need that, especially if you're going to be using it up close and personal. There's chances that you might run into a couple more enemies than you expected. So having the 44 round fast mag is going to help you have a lot more forgiveness if you do miss your shots, and also enough for the next opponent. Handle is going to be the airborne elastic wrap just to mitigate the negative of the magazine that we are using, so we can balance out that aim down sight time. And stock is going to be the Raider stock. I'm using the same exact secondary, same everything as previously said. Here is our TTK comparison of all the assault rifles in Cold War. So right here we have the AK47 at 300 millisecond time to kill, and it goes all the way up to 38 meters. Now, like I said, we need the VDV reinforced, and that's going to increase it all the way out to 70 meters. So you can just imagine, you know, the line coming out to here. Then secondly, we have the Fara 83 at 300 millisecond time to kill as well, and its base damage range is at 63 meters. So you don't need an attachment to increase its damage range. All you need is that Ranger barrel. Now, the reason why I placed the AK47 as number one before the Fara 83 is because I think that mobility is everything, and the AK47 is just a lot easier to handle and mobility wise versus the Fara 83. We have the Groza at 320 milliseconds up to that 53 meter range. The Groza actually kind of reminds me of a pocket SMG, so it's got really great handling and mobility, and that's what I really like about the Groza. And also this TTK is definitely attractive, and why you should give it a try if you haven't used it yet. The Groza is definitely a sleeping giant, man. It's for sure underrated in my opinion. Definitely give the Groza a try if you haven't used it yet. This is a pretty exceptional TTK, and it's got really great damage range. Next up, we have the FFAR1 at 330 milliseconds up to that 38 meter range. And then lastly, we have the XM4 at 332 milliseconds. So the XM4 and the FAR are very, very similar in TTK. 330 versus 332 milliseconds, there isn't really that much of a difference there, but you can tell that the FAR is probably going to melt up close easier versus the XM4. Now, the reason why I placed the XM4 above the FFAR1 is because of its flexibility. It's just simply got more damage range to it at 45 meters versus the FAR at 38 meters, and there's definitely a difference in handling when it comes to the XM4 versus the FAR. So that's not to say that the FAR is a terrible weapon. I'm just letting you guys know that it's just easier to control the XM4, and that's probably why it's one of the most popular assault rifles in the game. There definitely is an acquired skill to using the FFAR1. You have to learn how to control that recoil, most importantly, and once you do, this thing is going to be a beast. Obviously, if you're not going to miss your shots with the FFAR1, you are going to outright beat opponents who are using the XM4. So that's what it all comes down to: skill level, as well as mastering that recoil control and being able to be as accurate as possible with the FFAR1 versus the XM4. So moving along here, we have the QBZ at 352 milliseconds and the XM6, the worst gun in the game in my opinion, at 368 TTK. This actually has the same TTK as the AMP63, so that's how you know it's a problem right there, man. Just the XM6 is okay when you're going for camo challenges, but other than that, I don't really see it being a viable option when you do have stuff like the AK47 and the Fara 83 here. The TTK differences are just absolutely significant between the two. But to be fair, the XM6 has an amazing recoil control. It's a laser beam from long range, and if you can hit your shots, you are going to be unstoppable versus most of these other weapons here, because the recoil control is not as great. So XM6 has some upside to it, but it's only at longer ranges in my opinion. So that's about it, man. There isn't really much to say about this TTK graph. I just wanted to show you guys, you know, how I came up with these rankings as far as the assault rifles go. If you guys learned something in this video, make sure to drop a like. I'd really appreciate it. If we could hit 300 likes within 24 hours of this video being posted, I'd really appreciate it. It'd mean a lot to me. And make sure to subscribe to make your way back to the channel if you're new around here, and I will see you guys in the next video. Yo, if you guys are always on your computer all day, or you like to game for long sessions, definitely check out 𝗪𝗓𝗔𝗠𝗪𝗔𝗥𝗕𝗢𝗠 for these blue light blocking glasses. Quite literally the best blue light glasses that you can ever find on the market. Make sure to check out 𝗪𝗓𝗔𝗠𝗪𝗔𝗥𝗕𝗢𝗠 and just learn more about it, man. There's so many benefits to keeping your eyes nice and healthy. You won't feel that strain at the end of the day, and you'll go to sleep like a baby at the end of the day, and that's the best part. You won't feel tired at all. Definitely check out 𝗪𝗓𝗔𝗠𝗪𝗔𝗥𝗕𝗢𝗠. Use code TURBO at checkout.